Did anyone start school this week? I'm curious. Teachers, students, couple hands up. Did anyone have kids or grandkids that started school this week? It's a busy back to school time. Anybody start a new school? Anybody do something, a couple of new schools? Did anybody's synagogue ask them to give a sermon the day they started school as the head of school? Well, we did that to Neil Tuch, and I apologize. When we assigned it, we didn't realize this would be the week that you were going back to school as the head of school, but we're delighted to invite Neil up to offer our words of Torah tonight. Neil is a longtime member of Beth Am with his wife Adrienne. Come on up. Has worked on the Beth Am board as the Beth Am treasurer and worked on many different parts of the Jewish community, including with the Jewish Communities Relationship Council. Many of you know him, and I think maybe two of his daughters are streaming in from the East Coast. Who knows? So fingers crossed, but it's always a delight to offer our bima to Neil. So.
Shabbat shalom. I was worried about the sun, but Adrian reminded me I'm not as tall as Rabbi Jonathan, so if the sun hits him, I'm fine. First, I want to thank Beth Am for all the love and support this congregation has given our family over the years. I believe this summer marks the 20th anniversary of our joining the synagogue, and it has been a wonderful part of our establishing a West Coast community. And I am honored and humbled to deliver a Dvar Torah tonight. So, on June 10th, 2022, a leader faced an important decision. The decision would need to be made with millions of people around the globe watching. The impact would bring happiness or misery to many. A leader would have to call on their experience, personal relationships, and sense of the moment. What was the right thing to do? What would be the impact? At that moment, Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, decided to bench one of his star players, Draymond Green, for the most critical part of Game 4 of the NBA championship. As we all know, the move paid off. The Warriors won the game and never lost again on their way to the championship, defeating my beloved Celtics. Kerr faced a difficult decision. He made a tough call, and at least in this case, the decision was the right one. Ever since I became the head of school at Charles Armstrong, I've become fascinated by the topic of decision making. And 2022 has been a big year for decision making in America, with many decisions well beyond the scope of my lighthearted basketball example. President Biden and his advisors had to make critical decisions about how to respond to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, balancing the defense of an overwhelmed ally with the threat of an escalation of war, perhaps even to nuclear levels. The Supreme Court, I thought I'd hear some booing there, or at least 5 or 6 justices, have issued a number of decisions which threaten to upend the way of life in our country and take away protections that have shaped our society for decades. And in under 3 months, voters will once again go to the polls and decide what path to take our country down. In my little part of the world, decisions come fast and furiously. Armstrong is a 2nd through 8th grade independent, or what used to be called private school. Our mission is to unlock the unique potential of students with dyslexia and related learning differences, changing the trajectory of their lives. I'm in my 6th year as a member of the school's leadership team and my 2nd as the head of school. When people think about schools, they think of teachers, books, maybe iPads or computers these days, the playground. But what I did not appreciate until I stepped into a school leadership role is the countless decisions that define a school every day. How to allocate a fixed pool of financial aid, whether or not a student's behavior has gone so far that they no longer should be part of the school community. There are many hard decisions. My message for tonight is hopefully a simple but important one. We need to teach the young people in our lives multitasking there. I'm good. Didn't know my reflexes were still that good. All right, I'm going to start that paragraph again. My message for tonight is hopefully a simple but important one. We need to teach the young people in our lives how to make decisions. We need to model those lessons by showing our own ability to make decisions and our ability to explain our decision making. I see way too many students struggling with the ability to make a decision. And oftentimes they are just mirroring the behaviors they see in the adults around them, teachers, parents, and other trusted adults who feel less than confident in making decisions. So what does Judaism offer in the way of insight into decision making? I am not a rabbi, but I researched the topic preparing for this Dvar Torah, and one thing is clear. Jews and Jewish commentary talk a lot more about debating issues and arguing about issues than actually reaching a decision. We Jews love the idea that there is not one answer, that there are multiple interpretations of a text or a story, and we believe that the journey is more important than the endpoint. But sometimes there has to be an endpoint. And Judaism does recognize that. There are a number of teachings which either address or touch on decision making. So let's pause here and throw in a few pieces about what Judaism has to say about decision making. And I'll remind you that I am not a Jewish scholar or, frankly, any kind of scholar whatsoever. First, Judaism believes in free choice. Human beings have the ability to make decisions. God, if one believes in God, does not predetermine how the world will unfold. Maimonides said, and I paraphrase here, only foolish people believe that God decrees from the start whether a person is to be righteous or wicked. Judaism expects people to make righteous decisions, not wait to see the will of God. Second, some Jewish commentaries basically say, get on with your decision, stop wasting time. One educator noted, quote, being decisive can be very challenging, especially when there seems to be validity to more than one side of the argument. Perhaps a little indecision in the beginning can be beneficial at times, allowing us to explore our options with an open mind. On the other hand, lack of clarity can slow down, if not stunt our development, unquote. We learn from making decisions, whether the positive reinforcement of a decision well made or the lessons from a decision that was a mistake. Finally, perhaps the most well-known stories, perhaps one of the most well-known stories about decision-making in the Bible is King Solomon's provocative decision when two women come to him claiming to be a baby's mother. Solomon ordered a servant to fetch a sword so he could, quote, split the baby and give half to each woman. When one of the women says that she would rather see the other woman get the baby than see the child killed, Solomon determines that this must be the true mother. I read several commentaries about this episode, and the one that stuck with me is that Solomon, by using this cruel test, was able to discern the precise nature of the two women who stood in front of him. When a decision involves people, Judaism suggests that evaluating the nature of the people on each side of the decision is essential to finding the right outcome. I'd like to share one example with you of a difficult decision we had to make at school. And this example is particularly provocative because it involves Israel. Let me start by setting the tone on our school culture. Armstrong cares deeply about allowing our faculty and staff to be their true, authentic selves in our workplace. As a former private equity investor, let me just say that this culture has taken a little while to understand and embrace, but I absolutely do embrace it. I firmly believe that faculty are better at teaching students if they really feel safe being themselves. One day, a teacher approached our leadership team and demanded that another member of the faculty remove a sticker from the top of their laptop. My first impression was, lots of people have stickers on their laptops. What's the big deal? She showed us a picture of the sticker. It was the map of Israel, but colored in with the colors of the Palestinian flag. When you go home tonight, you can find a picture of the sticker pretty easily with a Google image search. The first teacher, who was Jewish, found the sticker offensive because she felt it implied that Israel should, as a whole, be Palestinian. The second teacher, I'll call her the sticker teacher, later told us that her Palestinian heritage was important to her. The sticker showed her pride in that heritage and was not meant to offend. She also pointed out that even if the sticker was political in any way, there were lots of people at our school with political stickers on their school laptops, which was, in fact, true. She also noted that in both our school and our country, the Palestinian voice is rarely represented compared to the voices of the Jewish community. I won't walk you through all the ensuing conversations. Needless to say, we tried to bring the parties together to discuss the matter, but actually the Jewish teacher refused to do so. We also reviewed our policies, and no particular policy was on point enough to drive to an answer. Banning all stickers would cause bigger issues. And what about coffee mugs, things in the classroom? There was just no realistic answer in that direction. We had to make a decision, no way around it. And of course, my position was a bit more complicated as a Jewish person with a strong Jewish identity. How does one make a decision when values collide? I'm not going to tell you this is some magical recipe, but here are 3 tests I applied to this decision. Test number 1, look at analogous situations and see if they lend insight. I will note that this is a very Jewish approach. Our people often look to stories in the Torah and accompanying commentaries to help sort out a particular problem or solution or situation. The best I could come up is the flying of the Confederate flag, which some consider a symbol of Southern heritage and others consider a symbol of slavery and racism. But when I brought up this example, it got nowhere. People around our leadership table had such strong feelings about racism with such little knowledge about Israel and the Middle East that they couldn't make the connection emotionally. This test proved unhelpful. Test number 2, as a leader, evaluate how each side of the decision will impact the norms of your community. This one proved very hard. Many of you, as I did, grew up in more of a command and control type of institution or company. So it is hard for us to weigh how important a safe, open community at work is to so many younger professionals and especially professionals of color. The impact of shutting down an expression of someone's identity, especially someone seen as an underrepresented group, can be really hard on a community. This test leaned towards allowing the sticker. Finally, test number 3. Does either side have a way of achieving their objective without causing harm to the other? I want to be careful not to use the word compromise, because there was no compromise in this situation. This particular sticker was going to be or not going to be on this laptop for all to see. However, our team did discuss that there were other ways the sticker teacher could express their identity, perhaps a sticker of the actual Palestinian flag or something similar. We didn't want to dictate how the sticker teacher expressed their identity, but it did seem like there were alternatives to a sticker that was a visual embodiment of the Hamas calls for, quote, a free Palestine from the river to the sea. This test leaned towards removal of the sticker. I'm not proposing there aren't other tests or other approaches to this and other difficult decisions, nor am I suggesting I really went through the above tests methodically. It's easy to look back and review and categorize your decision making. While I'm very tempted to give you a Sopranos-like ending and not tell you what happened with the sticker, I'm not sure I want 100 people coming up to me after services and asking. In the end, we asked the sticker teacher to remove the sticker. It just felt like the harm of attacking a key part of another group's identity, in this case, Jews and Israel, outweighed the good of allowing people to be their authentic selves. But it was a close call, especially in today's environment. I'll never be quite sure whether some other people in the community felt we made the wrong decision. The sticker teacher actually left the school the year I became head of school, and I'll never know whether this decision was the reason. My hope is this Shabbat, I've challenged all of us to discuss decision-making with those in our lives, particularly young people who look towards your decision-making as a model for how they will make important decisions in their own lives. Shabbat Shalom.